start to it, and when I do it.
Welcome to Keep It a Beam. I'm your host, Kevin Thurston. And before I get started, man, I just want to, from my house to your house, I'm praying and hoping that everybody is following the stipulations during this COVID-19. I'm asking that everybody just take the time out and be conscious about sanitizing your hands when you go in the store, when you come out of the stores, and just keeping your mask on at all times when you're outside of your home. This is a serious situation going on in the earth, and I'm just praying that everybody just follow the guidelines during this pandemic. Either it's going to be 6 feet or 6 feet. I just lost someone real dear to my heart to COVID-19, and I just don't want to see nobody get hurt. So from my house to yours, keep yourself healthy. To capture your true worth and value, you have to know your strengths and your weaknesses. You know what I mean? You got to know what you're good at. You got to know what you're bad at. It's just as simple as that. You got to actually go within yourself and figure out these things before you can truly say, this is what I know I'm great at. In order for you to do that, it's going to take you sitting down with yourself in quiet times. It's going to take you really being honest with your areas in yourself. It takes a lot of self-evaluations, unlimited, and you have to be okay with that. Because when you are really striving for something, you want to do it to the best of your ability. And in order for you to do that, you have to go to the gym. You know what I mean? You have to practice. Everything takes practice. You feel me? That's the only way you're going to get great at something. You continuously do it and you become great at it. This is you going to the gym within yourself. You feel me? Now once you got this down packed, you know, you gotta, don't be afraid to be a trendsetter. You know what I mean? I never was afraid to just do new things. You know, I gotta see if this works for me before I can even put it in front of anybody. I want to make sure it's good for me. And that's what you gotta do. Be a trendsetter. I've always been a trendsetter in my way, in my unique way. I was a trendsetter. You know what I mean? I wasn't afraid to ask questions. You know, now I'm not, but back then it's hard to rely on anything when you never really had that backing. You know what I mean? You people who was basically raised on their own, you know, I'ma say in a sense that really didn't have that kind of you know, that input from family members or anybody. You are prone not to listen to anyone because you've been doing this on your own. You've been doing this out the mud on your own since that time. So it's hard for you to ask a question. You know what I mean? I totally understand that. It could be, the answers could be right in front of you, but because you know you don't have this within you to do, you won't ask the question. But this is something that's very serious for you to gain your worth. You gotta ask questions. You can't be afraid to ask them. You know what I mean? Raise your hand. in a sense, if you see somebody doing something good and great, go and holler at that person, man, and you know, say, how did you do this? Because, you know, as time went on, that's what I started to do. And I was always around greater people than me. I always hung with people who are older than me that had it going on and had more order than I did. You know what I mean? So I picked up off of that. So know your strengths, know your weaknesses. Don't be afraid to ask questions and be a trendsetter. These are all parts of you gaining your worth. You heard? You know, when you have kids early, it's really hard to know your worth. You know what I mean? It took me a long time to get to this point in my life because I had to actually put myself on the back burner. You know what I mean? Once you start having kids, you know, at 16, 17 years old, your childhood really is over. You're not grown at 16. We thought we were, but all of that is history once you have your first child at a young age. So for me to get, you know, this is the reason why it has taken me so long to figure out what my worth is. You have to do a lot of settling when you have kids at an early age. You know what I mean? You can't really chase your dreams the way you would like because now you have to sew into this baby. You feel me? A baby sewing into another baby. So I'm just thankful that my worth, I have come into it. You know what I mean? Me and my wife are blessed to have kids that are grown now. You know, my youngest child just graduated, and you know, it's like we done did all the raising and we good now. So now I can actually start focusing back on me. But that period of time of our kids growing up, man, I had to put all my focus on them. So, and it's hard to know your worth and your true value when you have to sold that worth that you put on the back burner into your kids. You know what I mean? So I'm blessed and I'm fortunate not to have given up during this pause. You know what I mean? And I'm thankful to have come into my worth. So take that.
#1 on the charts.
Too much of anything can hurt you and or even kill you. Prime example. During my story time is based around that, and here's the reason why. You know, for a long time, you know, and I've always been like this. Either I'm gonna do something great or I'm gonna do something terrible, right? So for a long time, I've been eating wrong. I've been drinking, you know, sodas and all kinds of stuff that just puts weight on you. So I made up in my mind, okay, boom, I'm going to start drinking water. This particular summer, I was working 2 jobs. I'm at my first shift job, which is a metal company, very hot, a lot of acids and things like that there, no AC. I mean, just humid, right? So I'm drinking, I have a gallon of water. I begin drinking that water about an hour before I had to be at my second job. I get off of my first shift job at 3:30. I start drinking that at about, I'm gonna say 2:30, right? So I'm drinking the water little by little. By the time 3:30 come for me to get off and go to my second job, I done drank like 3/4 of the water. So I get to my second job. It's my cool down job. I'm a shift lead. I get to lay back. It's at a gas station. The air's nice and cool. And I'm just sitting there. I said, look, I'm gonna go ahead and finish drinking my water. So I guzzle the water. I had to be there by 4. I figured by like 4:15 that water was done. All of a sudden, man, I'm feeling woozy. I'm feeling dizzy. I don't know what's coming over me. I'm thinking it's because it's hot. You know what I mean? I just left an acidic place, and all those kind of fumes maybe I brought to the second job, and I'm just not feeling good. Okay, so I'm chilling out. I'm taking my time, but now I'm dizzy and I'm getting hot. So here I find myself in the back of the store with my head under the sink. Now it's a little funny now, but it wasn't then. So my head is under the sink. I got one co-worker in the store with me. She's looking at me. The customers are looking at me. We was pretty busy at this time. I was so deranged that I couldn't even go to the register to help her. So I'm like, listen, call the ambulance. The ambulance come, they gurney me out into the ambulance. You know what I mean? I get to the hospital to find out that by me drinking that water so quick, okay? It flushed all of my electrolytes out. Now at this time, man, I didn't even know what that was. You know, I did some research. You only supposed to drink like 15.5 cups of water a day. That's the intake for your body pertaining to water. I drank a gallon in like an hour and 15 minutes. You know what I mean? And that flushed my electrolytes, man. I was told that I almost could have died. So my family find out. They panicking, rushed up to the hospital. It's only me and my son, man. I have 5 girls, 6 altogether, including my wife. So they're very protective over us. They're panicking. They get to the hospital, and they just was like, you know, overwhelmed. Thank God I was okay that day, and everybody, you know, everything was cool. My point is, water is very good for you. But if you take too much of it, it can kill you. So that's the reason why I say too much of anything, whether if it's good or bad, can harm you. And that's crazy, because that's the best drink in the world. Why can't I drink 3 gallons of that a day? Because it'll flush you out, and you need those things to stay in your body. And when I found that out, man, I was like, wow, you can't take advantage of something good. You have to have a balance in your life. So try your very best not to do too much of anything. Part of flipping the hustle is knowing your worth. You got to know your worth. You got to know your value. You got to know what it is that you want to put in the earth, and don't be afraid to create it. It starts in your mind, and then it has to come throughout your entire being. You know, I always ask God to bless my hands, because whatever I put them to, it has to form. You know what I mean? But it has to start in your mind. You gotta have a boss mentality in order to flip a hustle, in order to flip anything. Right now, your worth is the most important part of doing just that. If you don't feel like you're worthy of anything, then you ain't gonna be able to create nothing, because you're busy battling that in your mind. But when you know you are worthy, when you know you are, you have a value, and that you are a valuable asset to whatever it is you're trying to create, that it's gonna be something powerful in the earth, nothing can stop you. That's you knowing your worth. I know my worth now, and if knowing your worth refuses you to settle. You feel me? You can't settle when you're worthy, because you know what you want. You know, people like Tyler Perry, and not just him, but I have to use him as a prime example, started from being homeless, writing those scripts in his car, and now look where he is. He has an empire as big as Walt Disney, because he knew his worth and he did not settle. You know what I mean? It starts with knowing who you are and what it is that you want to do. You got to have a creative mindset. I'm so blessed to have a creative mind, and whatever I put in it that's good and worthy, it's gonna come forth. It has no choice but to flourish. And my thing is this, right? Anything that's created right now during this pandemic is going to flourish. Whether it's good or bad, it's going to flourish. Now, we don't want bad things, to flourish. We're going to concentrate and focus on the good things. Anything that's created during this time, man, it's going to flourish, because you have enough time to do it. You have enough sit down time to think about it. And you just have a lot of creativity because you're in the house. Now, this is very important, because when this is all over with and we're able to move around, this is the same mentality we got to keep. You know what I mean? Know your worth. Know what you're capable of and put it in the earth. Have a creative mind. You know what I mean? This is the best time to put what's in your mind to work. You feel me? Know your worth. I base my worth off of other people's responses. You know what I mean? whatever kind of response I got, if it was a bad response, I charge that to my worth. You know, growing up, when you're not really taught your worthiness, you have to go off of your feedbacks. You know what I mean? And that's what I did. So it took me a long time, to figure my own self out and the value that I have in me. You know what I mean? You're gonna get shot down a lot because everybody has their own different taste. You might be doing something that's phenomenal, but the next man might look at it as a mess, but it's great. You know what I mean? For you, everybody is not gonna agree to what you're doing, and you have to come to grips with that and just know. When you know your worth, it don't matter what nobody say. You're gonna be gung ho and go for it. So it took me a long time, but I'm so blessed now to know my worth. I don't care what nobody say, because this is something that's in me that I have to put out. So you have to know your worth. So, and I'm just glad now that I know mines. It took a lot of, you know what I mean, of me doing a lot of self-evaluations to come to this point in my life. You know what I mean? So there it goes. We keep it moving with that notion. I'm an evolver. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of evolvers in the world. You gotta evolve in order to flip anything. You feel me? The moment people found out during this pandemic that masks was gonna be a necessity, all the evolvers came out and started creating masks. You feel me? And there's so many other things now that's being created in the fashion world because of this pandemic. But that's how you evolve. That's how you flip the hustle. You take something, you take a need and you create it. And don't be afraid to, even if you ain't never done it before, you know what I mean? Even if you don't even have the knowledge to do that, you have not gone to school or anything. It has to start in your mind. Once it's in there, just start walking towards it. Don't be afraid to just jump out there and get you some material or whatever the case is and start creating. This is how you evolve. You find out what the need is and you just tackle that thing and you put your own recipe with it. You know what I mean? I'm blessed and fortunate to have a mind that's not afraid to evolve. You have to be an evolver, you know what I mean? That keeps constantly turning. It's turning and it's evolving with the time. Whatever's going on in that time, I'm actually putting my creative uniqueness to and with that. You know, this is how a lot of creative businesses evolve too, because you see the next man doing the same thing, but he's doing it a little different. So now you got to take that, what he did, and put your own on it that's a little better than that. And that's how we build with one another. It seems like it's a competitive thing, but really all you're doing is building. You're evolving, you know what I mean? So don't be afraid to evolve. Let your mind run free. Let your mind be at its most creative peak during this pandemic, because like I said, whatever's created during this time is going to flourish. I'm an evolver because I don't mind taking risks. You know what I mean? I don't mind trying new things. And that's a big part of evolving. You know, for a long time I failed in this area, man, because I didn't know myself. I didn't know what I was capable of. But once I conquered that area in my life, I became dominant in that area. You know what I mean? I know what I want. You know, I replace fear with boldness. And once you have that, once I gained that, you know what I mean? I didn't mind taking risk. And evolving has a lot to do with risk taking. And I don't mind taking a risk, especially when it's towards something good. You know what I mean? So I'm fortunate, man, to be where I am as an evolver, because I don't mind, you know, turning the wheels. I've been turning my wheels ever since I conquered fear in this area, and that's what makes me an evolver. My best employee is my money. You feel me? That's the only thing that's really gonna work for you consistently. That's never gonna be late. When you invest in your own self, when you invest in your own dream, you know what I mean? It has no choice but to do that. It's just very important that you invest in the right things. So that the outcome of that will produce income. You feel me? So you gotta put your craft to work. Once you do that, you gotta know what it is you wanna do and then go ahead and run with it. Don't be afraid to do it. Don't be afraid to step out there and to just let everything that's inside of you come out. You know what I mean? That's probably one of the hardest things to do. But when you have a boss mentality, you don't have no choices as far as quitting or, you know what I mean, stopping anything. When you are a boss and when you are an owner, you do those things, you know what I mean? Because it's something that you have a goal. It's something that I'm reaching for, and I'm not gonna stop until I get that. This is how your craft goes to work for you, because it's inside of you, and it's something that you have to let go and let come. I hit a lot of dead ends, you know what I mean? Because I didn't have the means to do what it is I saw in my mind. And you know, that has been one of the greatest holdups in me going after whatever it is that I was feeling in myself. You know what I mean? But even with that, is ways around doing things when you don't have the means. You feel me? You know, you if you don't have the right connections, and if you just going after this thing on your own, it's gonna take a lot of patience. You know what I mean? It's gonna take you investing in yourself little by little. I learned that, man. All of this came over time. You feel me? It comes over time. When you stay hard at it, when you know, keep going and you don't quit, it comes over time. And you know, this is one of the greatest things in my life that has transpired because I just didn't quit. I've never been a quitter. You know what I mean? I don't have that in me, man. And when that's not an option, it's like you'll find ways to tear these walls down. You know what I mean? I've created within myself the meanest sledgehammer to tear down these walls. And once you find that, man, you it's nothing that's really gonna stop you. Like, I'm unstoppable right now because I have the tools within to keep it moving. There's gonna be a lot of obstacles and has been a lot of obstacles in my life, but you know, I've overcome those. And I'm just, you know, I'm blessed, man. I'm fortunate, and you know, I'm grateful. So, you know, this is a big one right here. You know what I mean? Your relationships play a valuable part of you flipping anything, or as we would say in today's times, you know what I mean? Our plugs. Your plugs got to be in order. Your plugs got to be charged. Your plugs got to be available. There has to be, I have to know when I put my plug in here, you know what I mean, it's gonna charge. You know what I mean? And that's just what it is. Once you build up that trust for your plugs and your connections, because the relationship is good, there's no stopping you, yo. For a long time, man, I thought I could do, you know, what God put in me to do by myself. There's no way you can run $1 billion company by yourself. There's not even a way for you to run $1 million company by yourself. Okay, so you have to start building your relationships. That's really the only way your connections are gonna be solid. You feel me? And I'm just thankful for all of the my connections that are still solid to this day. And there's no turning away from that. That initial connection, and I don't even have to speak to you for years, but it's when I speak to you, guess what? Where we left off at is where we pick up at. So you have to make sure your relationships intact. You know what I mean? To do anything great in the earth, you're gonna need strong connections. All my plugs are charged and accessible to me because it was left that they're in good standing. You know what I mean? Them plugs got to be dependable, but they are only dependable from what was built from them. You heard? I'm fortunate to still have all my connections intact, man. You know what I mean? That comes from just mannerism. It comes from honesty. That stems from truth. You feel me? And just being really who you are. That's what builds relationship, and that's the reason why all of my plugs are charged. Feel me? I'm truly blessed, man, to be able to have connections with some big wigs. You heard? And it's something that you just can't abuse. You just gotta know, man. So I'm fortunate to have all of my plugs intact. They charged and they ready at any given moment. And that's truly a blessing. A lot of people don't have the right connections. What comes with them connections? Opportunity. So I'm just really honored in this area, man, to have great plugs. So there you go. Know your worth, evolve, and don't stop. These are the 3 things you have to have in order to flip anything. If you have these 3 things down pat, man, you're gonna do very well. I've taken on those 3 things in my life, and it's starting to really show and enhance. You know what I mean? So I feel like I'm certified to even talk about this because I see what it's doing in my own life. You know what I mean? I want to just thank you all for tuning in, man, to keep it a bean. Please take this time to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and hit that share button. These are all things that you could do that's free. Don't cost you nothing. But I just want to thank you all, for tuning in. Make sure you keep it a bean, keep it clean, and flip the hustle. Peace.
Big Jeezy got it locked, boy. My outfit on drip. Check my neck, my wrist. Told you watch your steps. Can't promise you won't slip. My lifestyle on trip. Top peeled off the whip. Ice filled with baguettes. Get guala, make it flip. My outfit on drip. Check my neck, my wrist. Told you watch your steps. Can't promise you won't